Let's talk about Ohio Senator JD Vance and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who are gearing up for tomorrow night's vice presidential debate. The one and only debate will take place right across the hall from us, right here in the CBS News Broadcast Center. There will be no audience. CBS News anchor Nora O'Donnell and Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan are the only people that will ask questions. Microphones will be muted if necessary. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes joins us now. Nancy is down in Studio 57. Always great to have you in New York, Nancy. So let's talk about this. There's 35 days until Election Day. People wonder, the presidential debate, yes, people are tuning into that. They really want to hear what the two at the top of the ticket have to say. What kind of stakes are we talking about for the vice presidential debate for the campaigns?
It's very high stakes because they've only got one debate. So they really have this one opportunity to both introduce themselves to the country, to voters who maybe know the people who are at the top of the ticket a little better than they know their vice presidential nominees, and their last chance to really not just go after each other, but go after the entire opposing ticket. Because as you know, Vlad, Kamala Harris has proposed doing another debate with Donald Trump. So far, he is saying no dice. So this could be the last debate we see between now and Election Day.
So one of the things that's been interesting is the dynamic of these two men, Nancy, as you know. For better or for worse, the Harris campaign has sort of created this narrative around Governor Walz that he's like the guy next door. He's the guy that you run into at Costco, buying like bulk, auto products. And JD Vance is a former Silicon Valley tech CEO, Silicon Valley guy who's very good at debating. He's very good on his feet, but tends to be a little awkward around normal folks, as has been evidenced by some of the campaign stops that he's made. So how are those two men? Get us inside their brains of how they're preparing for this debate.
Well, it's really interesting. So you probably recall that before his debate with President Biden and then before his debate with Vice President Harris, Donald Trump's campaign insisted he really wasn't doing that much prep, that he views the day-to-day act of campaigning as enough prep in and of itself. He's been talking about these issues for years, so he doesn't need to do much in the way of prep. Well, that is not the case for Senator Vance. He has made it very clear that he has been doing a ton of prep over the past month. The campaign says he's been doing murder boards where, you basically sit there and you get pelted with questions. They've got Congressman Tom Emmer of Minnesota playing the role of Tim Walz in mock debates. He's from Walz's home state. And so they're making it clear that he is putting a lot of effort into his performance tomorrow night. Walz, as well, doesn't have much experience as a debater, as you pointed out. He's been holed up in northern Michigan with his team, where he's got Pete Buttigieg, who, yes, now is the transportation secretary, but was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, so a Midwesterner like JD Vance, playing the role of JD Vance, and he's been doing a lot of prep as well.
So, Nancy, how much of this debate will be a referendum on the two at the top of the ticket? In other words, do we expect that Governor Walz will go after JD Vance for some of the things that former President Trump has said on the campaign trail, some of the things that he's proposed, and vice versa?
Absolutely. Polls have showed time and time again that while there may be a lot of focus on the vice presidential nominees at certain points in the campaign, it really is the person at the top of the ticket who draws most of the scrutiny and who voters pull the lever for or against at the end of the day. And so I do believe that you're going to hear a lot from Vance and Walz about each other, but even more about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And we've got another big poll coming out later today with a little bit more on what Americans think about these two vice presidential nominees. So that'll be pretty interesting, too.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think is sort of interesting, Nancy, is the fact that it's very hard under normal conditions for the vice presidential candidate to step away from the issues that the person at the top of the ticket is talking about. But when some of those issues are really, really hot button issues, like, for example, as you know, former President Trump this weekend using derogatory language about the vice president with regards to her mental acuities. We expect that, because that's what we expect President Trump would want, that you would defend him at all costs. It's kind of hard to do when somebody is coming at you for something like that. And on the same token, if you're talking about the immigration issue, the problem that many Republicans feel has been Biden's albatross around his neck, it becomes very easy to sort of score some points that way.
Oh, no question that immigration is going to come up in the questioning, and if it doesn't, JD Vance is going to bring it up. And he has showed that he is a fierce defender of Donald Trump, even when Trump says things that, frankly, are inflammatory or aren't true. For example, Trump has been out on the campaign trail saying that actually he's the one that Americans should thank for the fact that seniors now get their insulin costs capped at $35 a month. That is not true. He did approve a pilot program, but it was Joe Biden who signed it into law, who got it put into legislation. And Vance has been out there on the campaign trail parroting that line by Donald Trump. So I think, he's going to do that again in the debate. And the same goes for Walz. If the way that he performs out on the campaign trail is any indication, he has been a fierce defender of Kamala Harris, and he talks about her quite a bit, sometimes even more than he talks about himself. And I think that you'll see that again tomorrow night.
Yeah, I also heard President Trump say over the last couple of days he's got a hot body. If he's on the beach, he's looking good. I would hope that the Governor Walz asks a question about that. Would love to see JD Vance defend that point that the president made. Nancy, I'm kidding, of course.
Let's see if we get a fact check on that one tomorrow.
Yeah, who wants to fact check that? Nancy, always great to have you here in New York with us. Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
And a reminder, we will have live coverage of the vice presidential debate, starting with a special edition of America Decides at 4 p.m. Eastern on CBS News 24/7.